Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the Breslov Research Weekly Parsha video. This week's Parsha is Re'eh. Parsha starts off, Re'eh Anochi Nosein Lifnechem Hayom Bracha Uklola. See that I am giving before you today a blessing and a curse. Blessing and a curse. Commentaries ask, what do you mean? Hashem is giving you the blessing. What's uklala? What's the curse? Why? I mean, okay, obviously, on a simple level, you have either or, right? Many commentaries explain that today Hashem is giving before us a blessing, and the word uklala, a curse, actually is an acrostic for the words v'hakeren kayemes loy li'olam haba. I'm giving to you a blessing, and the principle of that blessing will be preserved for you for the world to come. So that it's not just a blessing and a curse, it's a blessing and a greater blessing. A blessing. Why? Because that's what Hashem wants for his people. Blessing. If it turns out to be a curse, if it turns out to be problematic, health issues, financial issues, emotional issues, right? All this could be problematic. All this could be a curse. But know that Hashem doesn't look for that. He wants to give us the blessing. And we see it in the next verse. The verse after, Urei Anochi Nosein Lefnechem Hayom Bracha Uklola, it says, Es HaBracha Asher Tishma'un. The blessing will be given to you when you listen to Hashem. And again, the commentaries say, it's not so simple. The pshat, simple meaning of the verse is, the blessing is that you will listen to Hashem. You will fulfill the Torah, you will fulfill the mitzvahs, you will do good things in your life. That's the blessing. The blessing is we have to look for good things to do. And if we do it, then we're okay. All right? So that's how the Parsha starts off. Parsha has many, many laws in it. First laws are when we get to the land of Israel, we have to rip out all idolatry. Rip out all the idolatry. Wherever it is. If it's a tree, if it's a mountain, whatever it may be, rip it out. In other words, a lot of us have things in our hearts that we think are important. We think they have value. And therefore, we follow it. Nature. It's human nature. But that's not what it's really about. A person has to look into his heart. Am I doing this because it's in the service of Hashem? Or am I going to look where something is not just right? I'm going to look into it, and if I see that it's wrong, I am going to uproot it. And that's what a lot of beliefs that we have, a lot of faiths that we have, a lot of things are just not quite right. We have to learn to know what's right, what's wrong, and know where the blessing is, and know where if not, we're going to follow a wrong path, we're going to be placed into situations that we don't really want. Okay, that's how the Parsha starts off. Parsha then speaks about giving tithes and separating grains, foods, fruits for the poor people. Then it goes into a series of laws. What happens if somebody tries to influence you to work against Hashem? What if somebody, right? Now, this is a very delicate subject because some people are very well meaning, but their beliefs are not kosher. And we have to examine ourselves. What's right? What's really right? What brings us to serve Hashem? What misleads us from the path of following Hashem? And if the person persists in influencing you to the wrong path, then you have to separate yourself from them. The law in the Torah is you have to get rid of that person. Now, today it's not so easy to do things like that. You can't just take the guy. Well, you're an idolater, because you imagine every person thinks to the other person that they're an idolater. Every person thinks that the other guy is wrong and I'm right. So can you imagine what would happen if we had a law today? You're allowed to get rid of an idolater. Can you imagine? Right? There's enough shooting in the streets without any of that. So we have to be very careful. But we must learn to separate ourselves. Then the Parsha goes into kosher foods, kosher meats, kosher birds, fowl, kosher fish. It describes what's kosher and what's not. And that has to do with the idolater too. One of the animals that's not kosher, definitely not allowed, the pig does not swallow its cud, does not chew its cud, but it does have a split hoof. The Medrash says, why is there a split hoof on the non-clean animal? Because it's teaching us that there are people, there are things that spread their talons and they show that they're kosher. They have a kosher sign, but they're not kosher. Right? You have to be very careful of the charlatan. You have to be very careful of those who promote what they say is Judaism, and it's not. Now, there's a lot we can say about this, but we're not going to go into it. It's a time in the year before Rosh Hashanah where A is either Rosh Chodesh Elul or before Rosh Chodesh Elul, time when we have to start doing tshuva. We have to start protecting ourselves from slander, from mockery, from profanity. We have to clean our act up. It starts with the mouth. So we're not going to go into who's kosher, who's not. You, as an individual, could decide for yourself. I'm sure you're intelligent enough. And take a look at what's right and what's not. Take a look at the outcome of what the people have done. And you'll know whether or not you invest $1 million in a stock and the stock does very good. Good choice. Invest $1 million in a stock and the stock goes down, goes south. Bad choice. Right? It's the same thing with life's choices. What's right and what's not. You have to be able to choose what's right and what's not. You can make a mistake. Everyone does. We're human. But you have to really watch out what's right, what's not. Think about it. Think, and then choose wisely, and you'll find the right answer. The Parsha then returns to the subject of tithes and giving charity. And the importance of charity never, ever be underestimated. Charity could save lives, literally. And there's many fields of charity. There's hospitals, schools, poor people, widows, orphans. There's no lack of areas to give. But again, you learn to choose wisely about the idolater. You learn to choose wisely what's kosher or not. Choose wisely where you give your charity, right? What's the outcome of this charity? Does it do good? Does it help people? Go ahead. If not, it's one of these things like save the whales, save the tigers. Imagine how many millions of dollars go into saving the tigers when human beings are starving in the street. So, again, we can't go into it, but the problem is there. Choose wisely. The Parsha ends on the note of observing the three festivals, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. Right? And one important Rashi, well, they're all important, but one important Rashi in Shavuos says you should be happy in your holiday. You, your son, your daughter, your servant, and your maidservant. Rashi says four people listed: son, daughter, servant, maidservant. Right? It says you should also give and take care of the widow, the orphan, the Levite who has no land, and the poor among you. Right? Hashem says, Rashi explains, that you have four and I have four. I have four, the widow, the orphan, etc., that don't have someone to look after them. It's very difficult for them. Right? You have four, I have four. You should rejoice with your four, but only if you rejoice my four. If you look into the plight of the widow, of the orphan, right? You look into the plight of the impoverished, and you do what you can to help them, they should also enjoy Yom Tov, then you will have a most incredible Yom Tov. We say this now because we're getting ready for Rosh Hashanah. We're getting ready for Yom Kippur. We're getting ready for Sukkot, right? Let's look into the good things that we can do for others. And then in Yitzhak Hashem, we ourselves are going to have a most wonderful Yom Tov, oneself. Have a great week.